All right, folks, I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. We're continuing on with our live Q&A right now here on Facebook and on YouTube. Keep using hashtag NFL in the comment section to have your questions featured live on the show. Next up from Christopher Vigil, this is a funny one. Bortles AAFL MVP. Show me the lie.
I mean, at the end of the day, it might actually not be all that bad of an idea.
I mean, it's sure. I'm on board with that one.
I mean, if Trent Richardson can average 2.5 yards per carry, Blake Bortles can average 3 yards per carry.
All right, Raymundo Noriega says best trade options for the 49ers. If you're talking players, it kind of feels like Antonio Brown, right?
Yeah, Antonio Brown's my slam dunk player for the 49ers. I think they need to go out and get him, build around Jimmy G.
If you're looking for a trade down in terms of the draft, as we kind of mentioned earlier, team that needs a quarterback. I think you're looking at the Giants, looking at the Jaguars, maybe even a Dolphins or Redskins if you really want to slide further down in the NFL draft. But those are just some options there for you. Now, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. You put down $50, they're going to give you $60 for free. Put down $100, Mitch, they're going to give you $120.
Woo. And if you want to bet on where Antonio Brown's going to play next year, guess where you can do it? BetDSI. Go to chatsports.com/bet or use that promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. If you think you're smarter than Tom and I, prove it. Bet on BetDSI. Send us a screenshot to prove it, or else it didn't happen.
All right, from Recondite Red, is Za'Darius Smith exclusively a 3-4 edge rusher, or could he fit in a scheme as a 4-3 defensive end as well? I kind of think his best is in a 3-4 scheme. I think there's enough bulk and enough length there that he can be a 4-3. I think if you're looking for a team like we just mentioned, the 49ers,
okay,
if you'd miss out on getting one of the premier edge guys, maybe you bring in Smith to be kind of that 4-3 Leo, that hybrid role there.
Where does he rank for you?
He's not a top 25 guy, but he's not that far outside of it.
Okay.
So once we get to the franchise tags, the guys like Clowney and Lawrence come off the market, he might end up being a top 25 free agent for me.
Fair enough.
Derek Dickson, can't say that on air. Who for the Dolphins at quarterback when Tannehill goes? Great question. You could take them out of the Joe Flacco sweepstakes, obviously. I think Nick Foles ends up in Jacksonville. So of the veteran free agents, a guy like Tyrod Taylor, a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, who's from Miami.
Yep.
And then in the draft, I don't think Miami is going to sacrifice capital to move up.
I don't either.
I think they'll stay put. So if someone's there, maybe. Or they just tank for 2020 quarterback.
Yeah, there's been multiple reports that have come out that said that they're going to tank for two or tank for other quarterbacks in 2020. So I think it's going to be Teddy as well. Okay.
Verndell Porter, does Adrian Peterson re-sign with the Redskins?
Or it could be Pearson.
Pearson? Is it the rare pair human hybrid? We know you mean Adrian Peterson. We're just kidding with you there, Verndell. I think there's a chance. I think for Peterson, he knows, you know what, I proved myself to this team. Yeah, Darius Geis is coming back, but same question you kind of ran into last year. Does an NFL team want to bring in a quarterback or a back on the wrong side of 30 who looked good?
He rushed for over 1,000 yards. And I'll be the first one to say, I was really wrong on Adrian Peterson. I had a tweet, and I was like, I would take Trent Richardson over Adrian Peterson. I had a tweet that said that, and I was wrong.
Wrong.
Peterson looked good. But again, I like Darius Geis.
The NFL is ageist. Don't ever forget that. They like youth. They like cheapness, not older guys that don't offer much value. But I think in the end, he does re-sign with the Redskins. From John Wall, sorry about your injury, my man. What do you think Philly will end up getting for Foles, assuming he gets traded? I think it'll be a round 3 pick. It's not going to be anything higher than that. That was the report that what the Eagles were searching for. And remember, the way NFL teams value contracts and caps and all that and draft picks, they don't want to give a premium draft pick and then throw $25 million at a quarterback.
Yeah, no,
that's not how they typically operate.
I don't know. I think it's interesting to consider Nick Foles just because how much I think what the Eagles want for him or wanted for him. I think if they would have traded him last offseason, they maybe could have got a first round pick.
They might have because they had a full extra year of it.
Exactly.
Now you're really just getting the rights to negotiate with Nick Foles, not a year and then contract.
And Nick Foles has already made it pretty clear, yeah, I don't want to play for the Eagles next year.
Oh, of course not. He doesn't want to back up. He wants to be a starter.
I hear you.
All right, from Edward, if no trade down happens for the Jets, who do you think their options will be at the number 3 pick? It depends on who's on the board. Obviously, I think they love Nick Bosa.
Yep.
They would love Josh Allen.
Yep.
I think they'd consider Quinnen, and if the 2 edge guys are off the board, they're kind of in a weird spot because Quinnen and Leonard both kind of play the same position.
Yep.
Do you go offensive line? I think maybe you see a scenario if there isn't a trade with the first 2 picks, a team trades down with the Jets, and even if there is, and an edge rusher or both are still off the board, maybe they still try to make a move down. Because remember, the Jets don't have a second-round pick. They'd love to get one back.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, though, when you're a number 3 overall team or have the third pick, you got a lot of needs.
You do.
So
You do.
pick the best player.
Orlando Ventura, here's a question for you guys. Are the 49ers going to sign Earl Thomas or Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham? I know we're back again on the Odell Beckham trade train, which just kind of annoys me.
Yep.
They'll make a run at Earl Thomas. I think it's a pretty logical landing spot for him. And if Antonio Brown does get traded, I think the Niners make a lot of sense.
Antonio Brown's been our top, or the 49ers have been our top team for Antonio Brown for literally like a month and a half. And Earl Thomas rekindling it with Richard Sherman. I mean, they also have a lot of needs there. I mean, the 49ers had 2 interceptions last year.
Yeah.
Earl Thomas had 3 in 4 games.
Yeah, there you go. The Earl Thomas and Antonio Brown position would be like the dream Madden scenario there. That's kind of plausible. All right, from Chase, what chance do the Bengals have at getting Kyler Murray? For starters, I love the idea of Kyler Murray on the Bengals. I think it's fun. Let's make the Bengals fun again. Murray brings you the upside. Oh, please, shut up, you Bengals hater. So got you there. In terms of the chance, if Murray is actually committed to football and he's going to get grilled at the combine, his interview process is not going to be fun. I mean, the NFL is just going to hammer Kyler Murray in those interviews. But teams that need a quarterback, stop with the Cardinals crap. I don't think Oakland would do it, but the Giants, the Jags, maybe still Denver, plus a trade-up possibility by the Redskins or Miami, there's a chance for the Bengals, but I actually don't know if he's going to be there for them.
Yeah, I personally, from people who I've talked to, I think the Bengals want to go get Ryan Tannehill because Zach
Taylor.
Taylor.
He's a stopgap too.
I agree, but
you would trade Dalton in that scenario.
I think they're going to trade Dalton.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Mark says, what's next for the Rams? No cap space and no picks. Well, there is some cap space. They got about $30 million. The problem is that's going to go toward extensions only.
Yep.
So the Rams kind of went all in this year, and it didn't quite work out. The good news for the Rams is this year, next year, their draft picks are going to be from the compensatory process. They're probably going to get a 3rd-round pick back this year, if not a 3rd and a 4th. So that'll help boost you out there. But you have your round 1 pick. So if I'm guessing, if I'm the Rams, with no 2nd, no 3rd, maybe a trade down. Because you're going to need depth, too.
Or maybe you can buy Jared Goff some diapers because he still absolutely just shit his pants in the Super Bowl.
Demarquis Coleman says, what should the Cowboys do at tight end? They're in an interesting spot, and I'll take this one if you don't mind, Mitch, since I'm the Cowboys Report host.
Send it.
So shut it. The Cowboys are in kind of a weird spot. They've got 2 solid enough tight ends, Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin. They're probably number 2s in reality. So either you go get a number 1, which is Tyler Eifert if he's healthy, maybe an older guy like Jared Cook, you try to spend an early round pick on tight end, or you just wait a while. Because why spend a 3rd or a 4th round pick on another number 2 tight end?
Am I allowed to talk now?
Yeah, you can talk now.
Okay, cool.
I threw it to you.
I was just making sure.
That's cool.
This show's about Tom.
Thank you for the respect.
You're watching Tom Downey Hour here, just so everyone knows that. Make sure you guys subscribe, youtube.com/Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys Report.
There you go.
Now, at the end of the day, I mean, they have a lot of needs. I think the Cowboys, or not needs, but they need a tight end. I think that's an actual playmaker, because they just got like 3 guys who, to me, are the exact same thing.
Jarwin and Schultz are different.
Oh.
Schultz is the blocker. Jarwin actually ended up being a decent pass.
Can you tell he's the host?
Yeah, see? There you go.
Homer.
Shut it. Jeremy Wilson, do you think that the Panthers draft a quarterback to replace Newton? I certainly don't think so.
No.
You stick with Newton. If he doesn't come back healthy, consider it next year in a much better quarterback class. Go focus on getting some offensive line help, maybe another receiver, and some defensive help that you do need right now.
Yeah, I don't think that Cam's the issue. I mean, I understand the shoulder issue is going to scare some people away, but Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey are the 2 main pieces of that team, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Gabriel Herrera, who is a better fit for the Niners, Nick Bosa or Josh Allen? Any thoughts?
I guess I have Bosa rated higher, so I guess I'll go Bosa.
I think they're both good fits. Both can play that 4-3 Leo type edge role in the 49ers defense. I'd say Bosa, but only because I think he's a better player. But
Who do you think has higher upside?
In terms of like if they absolutely hit their peak,
There's a part of me that leans Josh.
It might be Josh Allen. I love his get off. I think he might measure out better athletically, which is often how I kind of.
You like when he gets off?
Yeah, very good get off. Good bender too. But I think Bosa is also more likely to hit his top end ceiling, if that makes sense.
Okay. Hey, I'm just saying, I love me some Josh Allen.
Valayan, when do you see Jeffrey Simmons being drafted? I want to see how severe the knee injury is. The closest comparison that I'll make in terms of recent memory was a guy like Sidney Jones, who didn't have the same off-the-field stuff that Simmons does, but also I don't think was as good as Simmons was.
Okay.
If Simmons had stayed healthy, he would have been a top 15 pick. That's, I think, kind of where Sidney Jones would have went too, or maybe a little bit after for Sidney Jones. And Jones went in the middle of round 2. Now, it's a really strong defensive tackle class. It goes fairly deep. But if Simmons' knee injury isn't super severe, it's not like a Jalen Smith type one, it was just a standard ACL tear, I think he goes off maybe mid to late round 2.
See, I'm glad you mentioned Jalen Smith because I think, again, injuries obviously suck, but we've seen a player like Jeffrey Simmons, he's really good, and now he is going to fall really far in the draft. And you saw the Cowboys, they took a bit of a risk with Jalen Smith, his knee injury was much, much worse. And now you see how much it's paying off for them. I think an NFL team can swipe up Jeffrey Simmons, and like a year or two from now, we're going to be like, really good move. Really good move.
Football Man Cowboys, who has the best roster? Mitch, what are you thinking?
The Raiders.
Okay. Answer seriously this time.
In all honesty, I think the best roster in the NFL, if they get all the extensions, the Rams are up there for me. I like the Saints. The Chiefs, they got to get a defense, though. You could say the most complete team is the Bears. Like the least amount of weaknesses.
Okay. I actually don't hate that one.
Least amount of weaknesses?
I don't hate that one.
I'm saying like most overall best roster. I might actually go with the Bears.
I think I'd still go with the Saints, despite having they have some flaws there as well. Inspiring Munoz, will the Raiders tank next year? Mitchell, what do you think? And you're the host of the Raiders Report here.
Inspiring. He knows I love you, man. But I don't think that they're going to tank. To be honest, I don't really think any NFL teams actually tank. I think the Raiders are going to be like a 7-9 kind of team.
Which is even worse.
I agree. Hey, I totally agree. But I think that the Raiders are going to want to go out in Oakland at least kind of give it
Do that
a
in
chance.
Week 17.
Yeah.
Go out on a win like they would have done this year against the Denver Broncos.
They got smoked by the Chiefs.
It is better long term to win 2 games than it is to win 6.
Sure.
Yeah, you can worry about the culture. I know players and coaches don't feel that way. But from a roster building perspective, makes a lot more sense.
2020 vision.
Yee with a good one here says the Raiders looking to draft a temporary stadium.
And judging by your picture, I can see that you're pretty high on the Raiders doing that. So,
if you guys like the Oakland Raiders, go subscribe to our Raiders channel, youtube.com/Raiders Report, which keep you guys updated all off-season long. Ryan says he can't believe the Browns signed Kareem Hunt.
why?
I mean, there's the John Dorsey connection.
Yep.
If I were Hunt, maybe I would have tried to find a team that could actually get me on the field at some point, because I think that Nick Chubb, Duke Johnson are good enough to limit Hunt's role.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, Kareem Hunt is a great pass catcher. He's great between the tackles. Chubb, great between tackles. Duke Johnson, great pass catcher. Again, I think Kareem Hunt was like, okay, I'm 100% going to get a contract. This guy really likes me. He drafted me before. That's why he went to the Browns. But again, I expect him to get suspended maybe close to 6 games, and I think it's a smart move for the Browns because in the NFL, players get injured. What happens, come week 5, week 4, a running back gets injured, Browns, worst case scenario, have an extra chip.
All right, Redskins 24/7. Could you see the Skins getting someone like Ryan Tannehill or Teddy Bridgewater in free agency?
Sure.
Those names don't
They just
excite
don't
you.
inspire me.
But that's fine. There are no names that inspire you in free agency.
I don't know about that.
At quarterback, name one.
If Nick Foles goes there, I'd be excited to see where he goes.
Doesn't really inspire me, honestly.
Oh, inspire.
More inspiring than Tannehill or Bridgewater.
Tannehill and Bridgewater.
I'll throw out. How about a different name for you?
Oh boy.
How about Andy Dalton?
I think I've already predicted that Andy Dalton's going to get traded to the Redskins. I did it 2 weeks ago on
Makes a
NFL
lot of
Daily.
sense.
Just saying.
Jake Harmon, who do you think the Broncos will sign in free agency?
Joe Flacco.
They made that move, of course. I think they could look for a right tackle. Maybe they try to throw some money at Jawan James if they can make it happen. They've been linked to him in the past. Because Could always
trying
add
to
more
think.
defense.
Always that can add more defense. Maybe a receiver, depending on the health of Emmanuel Sanders, is an
If he's
option.
even on the roster next
Exactly.
year.
He's probably going to get.
All right, Jacob Rawleigh, who are some potential sleeper picks in the NFL draft? I guess it depends. How are you defining sleeper? Are you talking like guys that most people haven't heard of before? Or are you talking like guys that could end up going like still go round 1, round 2?
I'll go from a fantasy football perspective.
Okay, there you go.
Because I love fantasy.
There you go.
I'll go Darrell Henderson. I really like the running back out of Memphis, and I think he could be a day 2 pick, or I think he's going to be a day 2 pick, and depending on where he goes. I mean, we've seen rookie running backs be able to insert themselves right away into the NFL and be successful. The dude averaged 8.9 yards per carry on 344 carries his last 2 years in college. Now, sure, not out of a Power 5 school, Memphis, but again, Darrell Henderson, that's my sleeper.
I'll throw in 2 very quick names that are non-combine invites. Michael Dogby of Temple, a defensive tackle, and also, Penny Hart of Georgia State. Last one from Christopher Vigil. Seeing the DK Metcalf picture, is he going to be tested for PEDs? He's just jacked. That's just who DK Metcalf is, folks.